As in a voyage, when the ship is at anchor, if you go on shore to get water, you may amuse yourself with picking up a shellfish or a truffle in your way, but your thoughts ought to be bent toward the ship and perpetually attentive, lest the captain should call. And then you must leave all these things, that you may not have to be carried on board the vessel, bound like a sheep. Thus likewise in life, if instead of a truffle or shellfish, such a thing as a wife or a child be granted you, there is no objection. But if the captain calls, run to the ship, leave all these things, and never look behind. But if you are old, never go far from the ship, lest you should be missing when called for. When you have learned to nourish your body frugally, do not pique yourself upon it, nor, if you drink water, be saying upon every occasion, I drink water, but first consider how much more frugal are the poor than we, and how much more patient of hardship. If at any time you would inure yourself by exercise to labor and privation, for your own sake and not for the public, do not attempt great feats. But when you are violently thirsty, just rinse your mouth with water and tell nobody. It is a mark of want of intellect to spend much time in things relating to the body, as to be immoderate in exercises, in eating and drinking, and in the discharge of other animal functions. These things should be done incidentally, and our main strength be applied to our reason. You can be unconquerable if you enter into no combat in which it is not in your own power to conquer. When, therefore, you see anyone eminent in honors or power, or in high esteem on any other account, take heed not to be bewildered by appearances, and to pronounce him happy. For if the essence of good consists in things within our own power, there will be no room for envy or emulation. But, for your part, do not desire to be a general, or a senator, or a consul, but to be free. And the only way to this is a disregard of things which lie not within our own power. The condition and characteristic of a vulgar person is that he never looks for either help or harm from himself, but only from externals. The condition and characteristic of a philosopher is that he looks to himself for all help or harm. The marks of a proficient are that he censures no one, praises no one, blames no one, accuses no one, says nothing concerning himself as being anybody or knowing anything. When he is in any instance hindered or restrained, he accuses himself, and if he is praised, he smiles to himself at the person who praises him. And if he is censured, he makes no defense, but he goes about with the caution of a convalescent, careful of interference with anything that is doing well, but not yet quite secure. He restrains desire. He transfers his aversion to those things only which thwart the proper use of our own will. He employs his energies moderately in all directions. If he appears stupid or ignorant, he does not care. And, in a word, he keeps watch over himself as over an enemy, and one in ambush. Remember that it is not he who gives abuse or blows who affronts, but the view we take of these things as insulting. When, therefore, anyone provokes you, be assured that it is your own opinion which provokes you. Try, therefore, in the first place, not to be bewildered by appearances, for if you once gain time and respite, you will more easily command yourself. When any person does ill by you, or speaks ill of you, remember that he acts or speaks from an impression that it is right for him to do so. Now it is not possible that he should follow what appears right to you, but only what appears so to himself. Therefore, if he judges from false appearances, he is the person hurt, since he, too, is the person deceived. For if anyone takes a true proposition to be false, the proposition is not hurt, but only the man is deceived, setting out then from these principles you will meekly bear with a person who reviles you, for you will say upon every occasion, "It seemed so to him." If you ever happen to turn your attention to externals for the pleasure of anyone, be assured that you have ruined your scheme of life. Be content, then, in everything with being a philosopher, and if you wish to seem so likewise to anyone, appear so to yourself, and it will suffice you. Remember that you are an actor in a drama of such sort as the author chooses if short, then in a short one, if long, then in a long one, if it be his pleasure that you should enact a poor man, or a cripple, or a ruler, or a private citizen. See that you act it well, for this is your business to act well the given part, but to choose it belongs to another. These reasonings have no logical connection. I am richer than you, therefore I am your superior. I am more eloquent than you, therefore I am your superior. The true logical connection is rather this: I am richer than you, therefore my possessions must exceed yours. I am more eloquent than you, therefore my style must surpass yours. But you, after all, consist neither in property nor in style. Everything has two handles, one by which it may be borne, another by which it cannot. If your brother acts unjustly, do not lay hold on the affair by the handle of his injustice, for by that it cannot be borne, but rather by the opposite, that he is your brother, that he was brought up with you, and thus you will lay hold on it as it is to be borne. If you would improve, be content to be thought foolish and dull with regard to externals. Do not desire to be thought to know anything, and though you should appear to others to be somebody, distrust yourself. For be assured, it is not easy at once to keep your will in harmony with nature and to secure externals. But while you are absorbed in the one, you must of necessity neglect the other. As a mark is not set up for the sake of missing the aim, so neither does the nature of evil exist in the world. Be not elated at any excellence not your own. If a horse should be elated and say, "I am handsome," it might be endurable, but when you are elated and say, "I have a handsome horse," know that you are elated only on the merit of the horse. What then is your own? The use of the phenomena of existence, so that when you are in harmony with nature in this respect, you will be elated with some reason, for you will be elated at some good of your own. When you see anyone weeping for grief, either that his son has gone abroad, or that he has suffered in his affairs, take care not to be overcome by the apparent evil, but discriminate and be ready to say, "What hurts this man is not this occurrence itself, for another man might not be hurt by it, but the view he chooses to take of it." As far as conversation goes, however, do not disdain to accommodate yourself to him and, if need be, to groan with him. But take heed, however, not to groan inwardly too. If you have an earnest desire toward philosophy, prepare yourself from the very first to have the multitude laugh and sneer, and say, "He is returned to us a philosopher all at once, and whence this supercilious look?" Now, for your part, do not have a supercilious look indeed, but keep steadily to those things which appear best to you, as one appointed by God to this particular station. For remember that, if you are persistent, those very persons who at first ridiculed will afterwards admire you. But if you are conquered by them, you will incur a double ridicule. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of things. Thus death is nothing terrible, else it would have appeared so to Socrates. But the terror consists in our notion of death, that it is terrible. When, therefore, we are hindered or disturbed or grieved, let us never impute it to others, but to ourselves, that is, to our own views. It is the action of an uninstructed person to reproach others for his own misfortunes, of one entering upon instruction to reproach himself, and one perfectly instructed to reproach neither others nor himself. When a raven happens to croak unluckily, be not overcome by appearances, but discriminate and say, "Nothing is portended to me, either to my paltry body, or property, or reputation, or children, or wife. But to me all portents are lucky if I will, for whatsoever happens, it belongs to me to derive advantage therefrom." As the proposition, "Either it is day or it is night," has much force in a disjunctive argument, but none at all in a conjunctive one. So, at a feast, to choose the largest share is very suitable to the bodily appetite, but utterly inconsistent with the social spirit of the entertainment. Remember, then, when you eat with another, not only the value to the body of those things which are set before you, but also the value of proper courtesy toward your host. Demand not that events should happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do happen, and you will go on well. Sickness is an impediment to the body, but not to the will unless itself pleases. Lameness is an impediment to the leg, but not to the will. And say this to yourself with regard to everything that happens, for you will find it to be an impediment to something else, but not truly to yourself. When you do anything from a clear judgment that it ought to be done, never shrink from being seen to do it, even though the world should misunderstand it. For if you are not acting rightly, shun the action itself. If you are, why fear those who wrongly censure you? As in walking, you take care not to tread upon a nail, or turn your foot, so likewise take care not to hurt the ruling faculty of your mind. And if we were to guard against this in every action, we should enter upon action more safely. Upon every accident, remember to turn toward yourself and inquire what faculty you have for its use. If you encounter a handsome person, you will find continence the faculty needed. If pain, then fortitude. If reviling, then patience. And when thus habituated, the phenomena of existence will not overwhelm you. Duties are universally measured by relations. Is a certain man your father? In this are implied taking care of him, submitting to him in all things, patiently receiving his reproaches, his correction. But he is a bad father, is your natural tie. Then, to a good father, no, but to a father, is a brother unjust. Well, preserve your own just relation toward him. Consider not what he does, but what you are to do to keep your own will in a state conformable to nature. For another cannot hurt you unless you please. You will then be hurt when you consent to be hurt in this manner. Therefore, if you accustom yourself to contemplate the relations of neighbor, citizen, commander, you can deduce from each the corresponding duties. If you are dazzled by the semblance of any promised pleasure, guard yourself against being bewildered by it. But let the affair wait your leisure, and procure yourself some delay. Then bring to your mind both points of time, that in which you shall enjoy the pleasure, and that in which you will repent and reproach yourself after you have enjoyed it, and set before you, in opposition to these, how you will rejoice and applaud yourself if you abstain. And even though it should appear to you a seasonable gratification, take heed that its enticements and allurements and seductions may not subdue you. But set in opposition to this, how much better it is to be conscious of having gained so great a victory. Let death and exile, and all other things which appear terrible, be daily before your eyes, but death chiefly, and you will never entertain an abject thought, nor too eagerly covet anything. The body is to everyone the proper measure of its possessions, as the foot is of the shoe. If, therefore, you stop at this, you will keep the measure. But if you move beyond it, you must necessarily be carried forward, as down a precipice, as in the case of a shoe. If you go beyond its fitness to the foot, it comes first to be gilded, then purple, and then studded with jewels. But for to that which once exceeds the fit measure there is no bound. If you have assumed any character beyond your strength, you have both demeaned yourself ill in that, and quitted one which you might have supported.